Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News for this Tuesday, the 10th day of September, 2024. And as always, we have some more important stories that have broken the last few hours that you need to know about. So let's get right to them. The Iranian commander said Israel will taste the bitterness of Tehran's revenge. Now, they keep saying this, and Israel unfortunately has to pay attention to it because the last thing you want to do is saying they're just bluffing, and then we'll have another October 7th. But again, this came up this weekend. The commander made it very clear that they still plan to do something against Israel. So we will have to wait and see. And we'll talk about that. Now, here's an interesting one. A hostage envoy, an Israeli hostage envoy, said that Sinwar could be granted safe passage out of Gaza in exchange for all the hostages. So they're floating that. Would you let Sinwar go? We'll talk about that. All right, and now the next two stories are the big one that's coming tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow in detail. Debate anxiety. Democrats privately worry Kamala Harris will choke during the debate tonight with Donald Trump. And here again, this is on ABC News. This has been discovered. The ABC campaign coverage has been 100% positive for Kamala Harris and 93% negative for Donald Trump. Who'd have thunk it, right? Okay, well, anyway, hope you got to watch the second edition of Timeless Truths from the Bible. We talked about our book, Bible Basics, and basic. It's an introduction to Christian beliefs, and that should be very helpful to you as we continue to go through our series on the Bible. We have a dozen books on the subject. We're summarizing each one. Then we'll have a summary of the 12 at the end. Then we'll move on to the next subject, which will be God Himself. And we'll get through eventually, God willing, all 65 books that are on the website so you'll understand what's on them. So anyway, hopefully you're taking advantage of that, and we trust it's being helpful. Okay, let's look at these headlines. The first one, the IRGC commander said Israel will taste the bitterness of Tehran's revenge. Major General Hossein, and I'm not making this up, Salami, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, says Iran's revenge for the elimination of Ismail Haniyeh will be different than what has been seen in the past. Major General Hossein Baloney, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, warned on Sunday that Israel will taste the bitterness of Tehran's revenge for its vicious acts. This is from PressTV reporting this. He warned that the Zionists cannot escape Iran's retaliation. They will see it when, where, and how it will occur. All right, and that's the threat of Salami Baloney. General Salami Baloney said that the revenge would be different than what has been seen in the past. Israel and its allies should not think that they will hit and run away, but they should know that they will hit and cannot run away. He said, according to Press TV, we are sure we will finish this story by the grace of Allah. Iran has vowed revenge against Israel for the elimination of the Hamas political bureau chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, on which Israel has not commented. They haven't said yes or no to it. They just don't comment. Now, on Saturday, another IRGC leader, a brigadier named General Mohammad Reza Naqvi, emphasized that the Iranian response is certain, but added that it will be carried out at a time when Iran deems appropriate. Hopefully, it's within the next 100 years. Criticizing the U.S., who he claimed is Israel's sole backer, he added the U.S. is complicit in the atrocities in Gaza. Three senior Iranian officials recently told Reuters that Iran could delay or cancel its planned attack against Israel if ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas are successful. Of course, they won't be that, but they'll try and find a way to back out. There's no way they're going to want to do anything because they saw what happened in Lebanon. They saw what happened when they tried on April 13th to bomb Israel, and it got nowhere. They saw what happened to the preemptive strike on Lebanon from Israel. And so all it would do is hurt their economy. Their oil fields could be destroyed. Their economy could be destroyed. So why they were thinking about it, we don't know. But I guess they have to, to brag about it, this and that. And by the way, we were just kidding. When we say we hope it's within the next 100 years, we hope it never happens. And we doubt very much that it will. Okay, later, however, White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby warned in an interview with Israeli media that the danger of an Iranian attack on Israel remains even after Israel foiled a massive attack by Hezbollah. We believe that they're still postured and poised to launch an attack should they want to do that, which is why we have enhanced force posture in the region, he told Channel 12 Israeli News. Pentagon spokesman Patrick Ryder made similar comments last Tuesday, telling reporters there is still a threat of an Iranian attack against Israel. Asked whether there had been any change about the perceived threat level in the Middle East, writer replied, Iran has indicated that it intends to retaliate, so we will continue to take the threat seriously, and I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, should we take their words seriously is the question. Well, in one sense, of course, Israel has to, especially after what happened on October 7th. So we will see. I doubt very much they would do anything because it really will not be in their interest to do this because even if only Israel responded, Israel, as we've seen, has the firepower to make it really, really difficult for Iran. So, but they keep talking about it. So we'll see what happens. So we had to bring it up because they keep harping on it. Now, this next story is a really interesting one. I was wondering if this had ever come about. Hostage envoy says Sinwar could be granted safe passage out of Gaza in exchange for all the hostages. Gal Hirsch, the Israeli government's official point person on efforts to free the Gaza hostages, tells Bloomberg News that if Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar were to relinquish the terror group's control of the Gaza Strip and release all the hostages, Israel would provide him with safe passage out of the enclave. Speaking to the news outlet during a visit to Washington, Hirsch said he is ready to provide safe passage for Sinwar, his family, and whoever wants to join him. We want the hostages back, he adds. We want demilitarization, de-radicalization, of course, a new system that will manage Gaza. He says he presented the offer a day and a half ago, but did not elaborate on whether or not there has been any interest in the offer from the other side of the negotiating table. And that's the story. And here was my comment. It would probably be a good idea to find out first how many hostages are still alive. Now, likely the answer he'll give will probably be a lie, but one of the worries is there's hardly anybody still alive, and that's why Sinwar wouldn't take it. And so the last thing you want to do is make an agreement with him. And he says, okay, I'm leaving on such and such a day. Well, how many hostages are still alive? He goes, none of them. We killed them all. So sorry, the agreement stands. So we're afraid of that. And I don't see that happening, but it is an interesting thought. It made more sense probably 6 months ago when there were quite a few hostages still alive as far as we knew. But sadly, and this is really sad, we don't know how many are still alive. All right, the big story tonight in a few hours is going to be the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. We're going to do a couple stories on this now. And then tomorrow, of course, will be our top story. We'll evaluate what went on. But here's one of the headlines. Debate anxiety. Democrats privately worry Kamala Harris will choke. Democrats privately fear that Kamala Harris' debate performance will not meet the party's expectations after weeks of media hype. The debate will be the first time many viewers see Harris as the party's nominee. Harris hid from the media and only sat for one interview. Former President Donald Trump, meanwhile, conducted many interviews and is the most experienced debater in the modern age, according to CNN. People are extremely anxious about her performance. Ray Zaccaro, a Democratic strategist and former Senate aide, told The Hill, noting the showdown could be catastrophic or monumental. There's a sense of real caution about expectations on her performance. Based on the current polling, it is somewhat surprising that she's not doing better in the polls. This is a make or break moment for Harris, he said. I don't think I've ever seen a candidate with more weight on a given moment than this candidate will have on this debate Tuesday. Harris will likely try to use the debate to cast herself as an agent of change, even though she has been in power for 3.5 years. Under the Biden-Harris administration, costs have soared about 20% across the board. Migrant crime has spiked. Illegal immigrants have invaded the southern border. Russia invaded Ukraine, and 13 U.S. troops died during the Afghan withdrawal. Polling suggests voters are not pleased with the direction of the nation and believe Harris is not the person to bring the change. Only about 26% of Americans believe the nation is headed in the right direction, or according to the Real Clear Politics average. 61% of likely voters believe the next president should represent a major change from the Biden-Harris administration, while only 25% said Harris represented that change, a Times Siena College poll found Sunday. A majority said Trump represented the change. The stakes are high at the debate, Morgan Jackson, a Democrat strategist based in Raleigh, said. I think Harris has a real opportunity to introduce herself to voters and prosecute the case against Donald Trump. The debate is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And so you've got other campaigners say, one senator told The Hill he's fear of the Harris will flop, which will make the whole party nervous. If you're a conscious, informed Democrat, you're nervous. How could you not be? She's not tested. I think she's going to be well prepared, as anyone could possibly be. But they'll go over every foreseeable debate scenario. But there's always scenarios you can't see in these debates. Other Democratic strategists believe the party is anxious because early voting in some states starts soon. And if she chokes tonight, well, voters will cast ballots with that in mind. And they say we have a problem with white working class voters, and Trump performs really well with those folks, the Democrats said. And so tonight's debate starts at 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC News, and it'll be 90 minutes long. And here's my comment on all this. When you have a candidate that refuses to be interviewed or do a press conference, it's indicative of a lack of confidence of their ability. Of course, Harris is not the brightest person on the planet, and it will likely become very evident tonight. Now, simply put, and here's the bottom line, she would be absolutely horrible for America. Horrible. I couldn't think of a worse person. She'd be worse than crazy Bernie Sanders. That's how bad it is. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Somebody asked, America couldn't be dumb enough to vote her in, could they? Well, sadly, yes, they could. Let's just hope they're not. So we will see what happens. Now, finally, the days of journalism are long gone. Here's a report. ABC, it's on the network this is on. Their campaign coverage has been 100% positive for Harris and 93% negative for Trump. So much for fair and balanced reporting. ABC News program World News Tonight has shown an overall positive spin on this reporting of Vice President Kamala Harris versus its overall negative reporting on former President Donald Trump, according to a recent report. Report from the Media Research Center, MRC Newsbusters, found that an analysis of 100 campaign stories aired on World News Tonight, hosted by David Muir, who's going to be one of the moderators of the debate, by the way, found 25 clearly positive statements made about Harris from reporters, anchors, voters, and other nonpartisan sources, which represented a 100% positive spin on the outlet's report for Harris. The 100 campaign stories that the MRC reviewed stem from July 21st, when she entered the race, until September 6th. An analysis of ABC's reporting on Trump found 5 clearly positive statements and 66 negative statements, representing a 93% negative spin on the outlet's reporting for Trump. The MRC Newsbusters report noted that ABC reporters and anchors either jumped in to criticize Trump themselves or broadcast negative comments from nonpartisan sources to impact a heavily negative spin on the former president's coverage. All right, this is the world we live in. It's sad but true. There's no such thing as real journalism anymore in the major media sources. Otherwise, they would have called this woman out for her lying, for her switching positions, for her ignorance of the facts. But please don't expect any of that tonight by the moderators of the debate. And we will have a full report tomorrow. And pray God's will. We know we are, but we're praying it'll be done for America. We have sinned, like Daniel says in Daniel chapter 9, when he realized Israel is about to return from captivity. And we have as a nation, but let's pray that God's grace will be upon us, because we don't want 4 years of this woman. That could be the worst thing possible for the United States of America. And so we're just asking for God's grace in this matter. All right. Again, I'm Don Stewart. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow on another edition of Breaking News. Until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.